in this house, the most dire, horrible events took place.
You are not content with the stories, slice of lives come. Be my victim.
Through watching scenes of violence, through watching scenes of transgression, through watching scenes of horror. There's an enormous amount of sort of abattoir of excess.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Let's see up.
It's a rescue mission. You'll love it. There's some juicy
Audience members,
we have to rescue from their
super chats,
favorite duty.
Dumbass colonists.
Hello,
Oh
I had to do it.
You're really risking the plight of YouTube with that. Good stuff.
They will love me attacking colonists. That's I don't know what you mean. I'm feeling safe, although I'm also feeling a certain sneaky edge that I just want to check we're still monetized. That was a whole 8 seconds of uninterrupted footage. Oh no!
You might be all right. 8 seconds tends to be the higher end of it, but because you've replaced some of the audio, you might be all right.
Susan gives and Susan takes. What can we say? Hello, chat. How are you doing? This is the 54th episode of Double Feature Horror Show, which is somewhat in breach not only of copyright law, but the Trade Descriptions Act. We do not have a double feature today, in that we don't have a topic section. I know you guys just enjoyed the BBFC history part 5 so much that we did last time that I knew you're still basically recovering from it. You're still savoring it, just marinating in that history of the British Border Film Classification. So I don't want to spoil you too much. And also we went for 3.5 hours last time. This is going to be a speedy stream. Maybe. But in a way it is.
Sonic the Hedgehog, I believe.
Gotta go fast. Gotta go
Exactly.
fast. You know why we've got to go fast, Haryan?
Because I believe if we go on too long, someone's going to come up on stage and give us a right slapping.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Super Nanny will come on and sort us all out.
Oh, I did enjoy the day of memes. Smith and Rock. I can't even tell if it was staged. It felt real, but they're actors, so who knows?
I lean towards real. What do you reckon, chat? Can I have a real or staged in the chat? I just want to know. I just want to know how we're doing on that. All right, I will get this off. In a way, this is kind of a double feature horror show. It is just the two of us tonight, by the look of it.
Yeah. Unfortunate for that crime guy, and we don't know where Lambda is, but hopefully he'll turn up late, better late than never.
We miss Lambda. We miss Lambda. Hopefully we'll get him, but the man is very much in demand. I'm glad to see that we're still controversial. Okay, I'm seeing. Okay, Alabastard is going for real. Waifu thinks staged. Richard is going for real, I think. I lean real on this one.
I was going to say, he's not that good of an actor. Yeah, that's why I think it's staged. His acting wasn't very good. He didn't react how I think you'd react if you got slapped in the face. I thought it was inconsistent with his character, personally. 5 out of 12.
Yeah, I believe Will a fair bit more, but Chris did have his recovery. I'd have expected a bit more being stunned.
Yeah.
Mercury thinks real. Yeah.
It seems a nice 50-50. It's a nice controversial subject. So,
Nice.
who knows?
Nice. Well, we may get a Lambda, we may not, but we are going to go ahead because, frankly, there is a heck of a lot to say about this film. I feel for this one, this is probably something you already saw.
Yeah, I've seen this before. My brother made me watch it around uni time, so I was like, "Yeah, I've never seen Aliens," and he was like, "Oh, well, that's got to change." So, we have a Lambda, I think.
We are indeed joined by a Lambda. All right, let's check in. We need the hot opinion. Lambda, real or staged?
I'm completely missing context. So shall I flip a coin?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the old... no, it was open hand slap, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
I think real. I'm gonna go. It's a rare one where I think something that happens in the world is actually real, but that's probably maybe a controversial opinion.
Yeah.
No, it's about 50-50 in chat. So
okay.
I'm on the stage side though. But,
interesting.
Okay. What makes you lean towards staged?
I just can't imagine Chris Rock just saying "wow" after he's being slapped in the face by Will Smith, and Will Smith just walking up and down.
But how hard of a
really
slap
weird.
do you think that was from Will Smith?
It looked like he was trying to put his whole body into it. Like he twisted his hips, which is the sign that he's trying to put his whole body into it. So
interesting.
Yeah. That's my take anyway. I don't really care. It's the Oscars, you know. Actors to me are just prostitutes, so or morally equivalent to them anyway.
What was it? Michael Malice's words are they're meat puppets.
Yeah,
I think he might have said that.
Maybe there's a halfway house where there was some planning, but nobody knew exactly what was going to happen.
maybe.
Anyway, because we are intending to have a speedy stream, so efficient tonight, we should get to it after all. Yes, I gather at around 10, Super Nanny might just launch the low orbit ion cannon. So before she does that, I've got to get the shills in, guys. I've got to get the shills in. Super chats are open. And if you enjoy what we do here, smash that like button from orbit. It is the only way to be sure, guys. It's the only way to be sure.
You see that subscribe button, you call that subscribe button a bitch as you grab it by the throat with your exosuit.
Fantastic. If you see friends going to any other horror channel, especially those channels that put out 6-minute videos that don't really give you any analysis whatsoever, but have lots of wavy hands, you say, stay away from them, you bad word I'm not going to say on this family-friendly stream, and you smack them away. You lock them in a room.
On YouTube, isn't there? Like, the format of internet essay has allowed people to sound a lot more clever than they really are.
That is my stock in trade,
Lambda. How to put in, like,
that's my game.
Lo-fi music, some titles, and then a catchy title, you know, a name for you, something clickbaity, and then you can just talk nonsense for the rest of the time. People will go, very, very deep and serious.
Yeah, well, Mauler does it every year. He has a series that he does once a year on April Fool's Day called Gláeddyv, and it'll be taking the mick out of that. Like, he'll put random words on the screen that he's saying, and it's all quotes from EFAP over the year. Like, they'll be watching a video, someone will say something stupid, and they'll just link all these quotes together. Yeah, it's so good. So that's Gláeddyv. So what's that? GDLEB or something? ELB. I can't remember what it stands for, but yeah, that comes out in 3 days on his channel actually. So looking forward to that.
This is some bizarre EFAP lore.
I'm a big fan, as you know. So.
Oh yes. Yes.
Mm.
And so you said, Harry, you had seen this before.
Yes, I've seen this before, once before.
How old were you when you saw this, if you don't mind me asking?
It's in my 20s, 20 or 21. So I was at uni
Interesting.
when I watched it first time. Well, the only time. So
Okay.
Mm.
And did it? What kind of effect did it have on you then? Like, did this hit hard?
Well, yeah, I loved it because basically, there's a load of references in games I play that I like. Oh, they all come from Alien. So there's I like to keep this for close encounters with the shotgun. That's in COD 4. Loads of lines in it are just in Titanfall. And a few other games that reference it. But basically, if a show does something sci-fi in one episode, it'll take from this, like with the pulse rifles there in Archer. I could see a lot of things being influenced by it, and I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I watched the original because I can see why this was used for influence on things like that and referenced all the time, because it is great. I loved it. Yeah.
Oh yes. And how about yourself, Lambda? What's your history with this?
I watched it for this stream, as was
lovely.
the case with Alien. So you're getting a very fresh take from me. I did enjoy it. Do you want me to give a quick review up top?
Oh, absolutely. My guess, I'm predicting. I'm just going to put my reputation on the line right now. I think you liked it a lot more because there was a stronger character arc.
Well, that's clever because I did kind of set myself last time I laid out my method for film analysis, so I now do need to keep to it. I'd say you're right that in a sense the film was concluded in a more satisfying way, but I thought Alien was much more artistically done. So for what this was trying to do, which was be an action film, and I understand it's been very influential on the action genre, it was extremely well done. But I did find myself at the end of it contemplating this question of which is better between the two films. And I have to say, I think that the sort of thoughtful, slow-paced horror film that we watched last time, I maybe I actually liked it better, but then I have to retract some of my negative statements from the end of the last stream because I now feel I was unfair because just because it didn't have the ending that I wanted.
No, that's okay. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because this is often lauded as one of the quintessential sequels that is better than the original. I would tend to say this is far more accessible than the original. It is a lot less challenging. But I also sort of struggle with it removes some of the issues. Like I think the plotting is a lot tighter. But atmospherically, I think Alien has the win there. There's a certain grittiness and I was going to say originality, but sort of the problem is I feel so many films have seen Aliens and be like, this format, we're just going to do this whole thing. We need a motivation. I don't know. Can you shove a kid in there, like a random one, Ginger if possible?
I don't know how when you're evaluating how good a film is, do you evaluate it with no knowledge of the history of movies, or do you give special credit to the film that invents something that then gets copied? What do you reckon? What's the better mode of film analysis?
I'm more on the former, where it's kind of isolate each film and just see what they each do. Try as little as possible to have outside source and things like that influence you. Having said that, if something does influence a lot of things, odds are the film's good. I can't think of anything that The Room's influenced, but I can think of a lot of things that Aliens has inspired. So
It's influenced several convenience stores within the
raises
vicinity of
the-
the Prince Charles Cinema to stock a lot of plastic cutlery.
Oh, that's true.
Really good
Raises
question.
the question of whether it's possible to deliberately shoot a bad film.
I look at it in totality, I think. So I try to acknowledge when something is doing things originally, because I like to see if something's a bit of a forerunner. There's a lot of stuff that can be quite rough, and it's because they're trying it for relatively the first time. I mean, nothing new under the sun, obviously, but you know, for all the rough edges of, say, When a Stranger Calls would be a really good example. It's trying to do something very interesting, even if it gets very messy and is very alienating. And equally, I couldn't feel like I wouldn't look at Scream and that amazing opening with Drew Barrymore getting the creepy call and just be like, that's all great and atmospheric and iconic and deconstructing whilst also improving the format. But you did kind of just copy Black Christmas and When a Stranger Calls, both weirdly from 1974. So that's a 4 out of 10 for me, dog.
Yes.
I can't do it. And also, I don't think you can get far in horror doing that, because they're frequently very simple stories, and it's what you do with the basic ingredients.
Yes. Execution over innovation.
Yeah. Would that work for you, do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think you should evaluate each film as though it were sort of living independently of film history. And I think that if that bothers you, then it might be some comfort to know that, as Haryan was saying, films that do pioneer something are almost always made extremely well. You know, maybe there's rough edges, but nonetheless, there's some beautiful spark of something that remains even after everybody's copied it. The original somehow still has something about it. It's one of the really interesting things I think about film history, that how often the pioneering films stand up to rewatching. They don't seem there's something about a film that's derivative that is derivative more so than the original. Even the tropes are the same, but the original's got that consistency in its ideas, or whatever it is. So yeah.
Yeah.
And in the same way that I'd say that Aliens is not quite the same as the very schlocky B-movie rip-offs of it that have followed.
Schlocky B-movie rip-offs? I can't think what you're... You know, one thing that really struck me watching this again was how much of Avatar from the same director is just a clear, like, this worked. This worked. Let's do that.
I love the idea that you'd call Avatar a B movie.
The B is for billion.
Yes.
They've even both got Sigourney Weaver in. It's complete copy and paste.
Oh gosh, she is, isn't she?
Yeah.
How much of a stunt cast was that? Oh. Terrible. Well, I should talk a little bit about, just very briefly, about the production, because this is kind of an interesting story. It was plagued by a lawsuit early on. The studio had done one of those sneaky things, like, you would be surprised to know that Alien was technically a financial loss. Oof. Taxmen shaking their fists in fury. Some clever accounting robbed the taxmen of that. A well-known ruse in Hollywood. But because of this, some of the producers whose bonuses were tied to profits from Alien, then sued the company because, hey, if the film isn't profitable, oof, you lose out.
Wow.
Shocking. So that delayed a sequel. I suppose the reason I should talk about this delay is like Alien comes out 1979. It is 7 years until Aliens comes out. Big old delay. Although I suppose maybe we're used to these random, even further apart sequels coming now, but I think we'd probably call them more just reboots, whereas this is more just a sequel that took a heck of a long time to materialize.
Yeah, do you know why directors changed at all? Because it went to James Cameron rather than he did the first one.
Yes, Ridley Scott. I could not get much clarity on this. There is a book all about the making of, and I am somewhat tempted. But can I just check, folks? Is the audio okay? Chat, can you let me know?
On the subject of the making of, can I recommend a podcast, Blockbuster, which was a very high production value podcast. Season 1 was about the making of Star Wars, and then season 2 talks about the making of Aliens, and it's very, very good podcast. Like the amount of effort they've gone to have it fully voice acted and with sound effects and custom music. So if you want follow up listening after we finish, then go and I'd recommend go back to the beginning and listen through season 1 as well.
Oh,
Blockbuster.
No, I'm intrigued, and of course you had me at Blockbuster, as always. Fred is there with one of the infamous stories that apparently James Cameron's pitch to the executives involved writing Alien on the board and then a $sign next to it. I can believe it. Cameron comes up through the classic pathway, low budget horror. His at the time he was writing a treatment for Aliens, he had the single glory of Piranha 2 to his name. But this is good. He's writing this under Corman. Roger Corman is a little low-budget horror factory and a very interesting man in his own right. We will have a arc purely on his Poe series eventually. But Cameron is very junior when he's doing this, trying to put it together in 1983. TLDR, production is complicated, tied up with other productions, including, bizarrely, Conan the Barbarian. Who knew? And different propositions are getting rejected. Eventually, a couple of studio heads are replaced, and the new head of Fox looks back at Cameron's rejected treatment and says, what are we doing? This one's great. Let's go with this. So at that point, Cameron's managed to get the Terminator out in 1984. So suddenly, he's not just the Piranha guy. He's looking a bit more credible. Also, contrary to what I thought, he didn't spring into action planning to cast people he'd worked with on the Terminator. So Michael Biehn, a recurring actor for James Cameron films. No, Michael Biehn was a last-minute replacement when they had an actor have to duck out due to a minor issue of drug possession charges, unfortunately. But I've got to say the casting, it really works for me. Michael Biehn, very, very sympathetic casting, taking over. Oh, sorry, lost the thread a bit there. So it had the studio backing. It goes in after Alien with a fairly modest, by today's standard, $11 million budget. Aliens is greenlit. Initially, fair amount of quibbling. They had a sort of sticking point on about 15 million and eventually got an $18 million budget authorized. So there is some very clever cost cutting in this. that we might talk about over the course of it, because I think you guys would probably agree that Aliens does not look like an $18 million movie.
No.
Impressive.
Admittedly, like pre-inflation, guys, pre-inflation.
It's difficult to figure out what you would expect for 18 million without looking at films from the time, but
Tell you what,
yeah.
I will try and do it. How would what's a good way to do the inflation?
Well, it's also tricky because the cost of various things in movie making has changed over time too, right? So I feel like the trick is what other films came out at the same time, and how much
it would be 62 million in today's money. So slightly higher than mid-range. What else was out at the time? I'm
Top
so
Gun.
glad you asked. Top Gun, The Karate Kid 2 Lambda, The Karate Kid 2.
Okay.
That was the big competition at the time. And it being the mid-80s, obviously, inevitably, unavoidably, Friday the 13th, they were on their sixth one. Actually, also the series coming back after a longer than expected hiatus. Friday the 13th Part 6, a bit of a low-key favourite for me. It knew how silly it was and had a lot of fun with that.
Top Gun's budget was about the same, 15 million. There you go.
And
Nice.
Aliens did not have a huge amount of support from the US military, I gather. Oh, we have a herbal tea incoming. My voice may last. Oh. Pray for my voice, folks, please, and health in general. It does feel weird having a bit of a 2-week gap on Tuesdays. I feel a tad rusty, guys. I'll be honest with you.
You'll be fine.
Where's the sympathy? So anyway, we got a junior director. He had some, the impression I get is someone who has a very definitive vision and a certain a drive, a real drive. He clashed a lot with the English staff. This was all shot in Pinewood Studios, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Neat.
Pinewood. So it's going, pretty much alongside Full Metal Jacket. For some reason, he did not find that the English Union crew were particularly motivated. He didn't
George Lucas had the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
Come over to England, everybody's off for their tea break and then leaves the second that the day ends. Yeah. Yes, absolutely correct. Yes, he did not like them having tea breaks. Shocking. Frankly, you gotta get used to it here if you're making movies in England. Gosh. So, but nevertheless, and he's very hands-on as well. I saw it actually already got mentioned in chat that he's very hands-on with the effects. So you not only got Stan Winston back, special effects legend. James Cameron really knows his stuff. There's some great stuff on the bonus features for Aliens that show him basically telling the effects coordinators how to do their job and arguing with them over... there's a specific bit in the scene where Ripley and Newt are locked in the lab with the aim of them being taken over by a facehugger. And they were trying to, those shots were so intricate to do because you've got a puppet you've got to move. And he was getting in a big argument with the production staff over whether playing the footage in reverse would work or not. And he's saying, look, no, it's fine. It's motion. As long as there's motion, no one is going to notice. I've got to say, I think it works. Yeah,
I didn't even notice.
Hey, it does the
So
job.
there you go.
How much better do the puppets look than the CGI atrocities that you would get these days?
Oh, so much better.
Depends on the shot. but I do think they're pretty good overall.
We should probably talk about the fact that there is a massive improvement, I would say, in the puppetry here, especially on the chest burster effects.
Yeah,
which I will have to scan through for a very long time to find. Do you reckon I can get away with that on YouTube? What do you reckon? That's fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be all right then. Yeah, it's not the only chest burster as well. They both look really good.
Yeah, I didn't go for that, but I just thought it was.
This is just the fake out, isn't it? This scene.
It is.
Yeah,
it
was
is.
great.
Oh,
like
fantastic!
If you're making a sequel, why not? Have a little bit of fun with the audience.
Yeah, I wanted to. But my memory of this was wrong. I had remembered that there's the scene on LV 246. I'm never going to remember that. The planet.
Oh, you were close. 426.
Oh, 426. Gosh, terrible, shocking. I had remembered that being a straight up cold open, just like getting a quick scare in straight away. So maybe one thing I'd like us to talk about is just the start of it is just, it feels like such a mature and patient film, even with them throwing a fake out to you.
Yeah, it's really slow to start off with. It's really good world building though, because obviously in the first one it was truckers doing this work for the company, and now it's now you actually get to see the company. Oh, all the people at the top of Bel Air, which I really liked. And we've got Burke, obviously, as well, and he's nice at this point. He's trying to be empathetic in every interaction you see with him and Ripley.
This is basically his first role. He was in very minor roles in other things, but this is his. For a lot of them, this was their first role. But I absolutely love Berg. I think he's played perfectly, and it's really nice that I feel he's juxtaposed with Gorman, in the sense that he's the more junior sergeant. He's very green. He's in charge of the Marines, but he does not have the experience. And I feel like the two of them together, Burke and Gorman, are there being the sort of the corporate office man that James Cameron loves to make you hate.
Yes.
But Gorman actually has a bit of a spine in the end.
Yeah, I did feel that sense of an interesting ensemble cast where people are taking different roles, and you can look forward to their interactions through the rest of the film. Although I think you could make levy a fair criticism at Cameron for doing slightly one-dimensional characters, where this is your role, and you're just going to be unsubtly living in that world for the entire film, and whereas to compare to Alien, then the characters were more subtle and realistic. But there's not necessarily that one is better or worse. I feel like the whole thing about Aliens is it's just bombastic. Everything's amped up. Everything's a little bit more straightforward, and doesn't feel the need for quite so much subtlety in many dimensions.
Well, it is closer to a war movie than a horror film, really. But I mean, it's an allegory for the Vietnam War, really. That's why you've got a load of Marines going into this alien space, really, where they don't know what's going on, but they're really cocky about it.
Heck yes. Heck yes.
And I mean, you've got so many characters as well. You need some to be one-dimensional, especially the Marines. But yeah, they're kind of
especially when most of them are introduced just to then exactly knocked off a few scenes later.
Oh, hair-tailed feature in the chat. Good to see you.
Could have seen this one as well.
we're luring you in.
I think he's only ever seen 2 films. We've done both of them in the past 3 weeks.
We're on a roll. It's fate-tailed. It's fate. We'll have you on one day. Yeah. In this patient start, I was sort of interested. Maybe it's too early to talk about it, but it's kind of relevant to what you were saying at the start, Lambda. So I kind of wanted to touch on it early. The idea that Cameron he's very good at what he does, but he does pitch his films quite broad.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff that is there to get the everyman on board, like generally.
But then as does Shakespeare, and nobody looks down on Shakespeare for that reason. So
that's possibly a fair criticism. Yes.
I'm just saying that the fact that there are elements here to appeal to every moviegoer, whereas Ridley Scott, you feel like he knows his audience. It's people who will really appreciate his work. They'll come into the cinema and love it start to finish. But for people who aren't into what Ridley Scott's trying to do, he doesn't throw them any. He doesn't want to dirty the film and spoil the artistic vision by adding elements in. Whereas I get the sense with Cameron, it's more like, well, I'm making a film. Some people are going to want to see this. Some people are going to want to see that.
Yeah. At the same, I agree. He just, I don't feel he goes for things that are too controversial though. So I'm thinking of Titanic. Like, did you know rich people are bad? Insensitive rich people. Oh, they did Billy Zane dirty.
Or Avatar. Did you know that the military is bad?
Yes. And this is, did you know corporation bad?
Yeah.
In fairness, like we can't have a go at this, because I think actually it's the messaging is there, but I don't feel anyone is really a sort of mustache twirling, hand rubbing, obvious big corporate dude. This feels really quite believable to me here. I am actually kind of on the corporation side, like thinking of what they are being told. It's silly, but it's a really great way to really make sure, even though they're being super logical, Ripley's right, and this just really increases that empathy.
Yeah, I think it was quite a nice way to kind of go, yeah, we know we're a sequel to this. Obviously, they're going to want to talk about it, because you don't lose a massive ship with a load of cargo on and not talk about it. And it also sets up what happens later. Obviously, she can't be a flight officer anymore, which is mentioned in the next scene. She's just doing basic loading jobs.
Yeah,
and that helps to give her motivation to, get the film going, really.
I would love to, since we're doing corporate talk, okay, forgive me. Yes, thank you so much. That is absolutely awesome. As you know, I cannot shill. I feel awful. I am red-faced right now, but I am also super grateful. That is amazing. I do have a subscribe star. It is linked in the description of the video. And as well as helping me cover the Adobe fees, it is all going towards a more ambitious project, which I've been meaning to do a topic on, and I'll actually tell you what I am wanting to produce. But before that, I'll let you know that around the time of Easter, when Lambda is doing his amazing Lambster festival that you should all check out, guys, I will actually have a series of exclusive content that you'll be able to get. And that is a series on the horror of the 1930s based sort of framed around the life of James Whale, the life and films of James Whale. And it is going to show you how the 1930s really transformed not just horror, but cinema going. So that's going to be available from Easter. You'll be able to enjoy it. You could be the very first person to enjoy it. That is my awkward but very heartfelt shilling out the way. Much appreciated. I love that I did that with the corporate stuff in the background as well.
What is the stew level?
Oh, I set up various levels for people. So the basic one, the smallest level, if you will, is the good guy, named after the good guy dolls from the Child's Play series. And then Stu is a higher level after Stu Macker from Scream. You know, an essential partner in making things happen. And I think my top level, if I remember, is Annie Wilkes, because #1 fan.
Says one of us.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, that's far classier. That's from Todd Browning's Freaks from 1932. It balances out. Are any of those movies familiar, Luke?
Scream, I know. Annie Wilkes, I don't know, and nor do I the one that you just mentioned.
Isn't Annie Wilkes Misery?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Stephen King stuff.
Wait.
Yeah,
So
I'm woefully knowledgeable about Stephen King. I need to rectify this as soon as possible.
Misery's worth a watch.
Ooh.
I'd say.
just making little notes. Lambda wants to see more Stephen King. That's interesting. You might find Needful Things very interesting. It's one of those ones that was fairly dated. It was produced as a TV movie. There is a very good level of understanding about temptation, human weakness. They did a good job in adapting it, in making this. It's basically about people making a deal with the devil. So it's very, very good at getting the old human condition in there and our frailties. And very sensibly, they decided not to completely adapt the book ending. And so your enemy is not revealed to be a small red dwarf at the end. Stephen King adaptations, folks, never go full literal. Never adapt it directly. Always check what's at the ending.
Doesn't understand what he's doing with his own books.
Famously, he kind of gets to a point and says, well, we'll finish now. I would derail the stream if I talked about Stephen King endings. Bless him. He does have a sense of humor about it. His cameo in It Chapter 2, he's in there and talking to the character who is a self-insert of him and tells him his endings suck. It's a lovely little moment. Bless him. I can't stay mad at him. But yeah, just on this bit, something I wanted to really praise in this movie is how it, and Haryan and I were talking about this backstage, it's how the plot gets over a really strong hurdle, which is, why the heck would Ellen Ripley ever want to be anywhere near a xenomorph again?
It's a good question. And the answer is simple. She wants to kill them all. Clear them out, some might say.
Indeed. She's right. There needs to be a new start.
Absolutely.
But if this is a Vietnam allegory, then and Ripley's the good guy, what does that?
This is the thing. I don't think Vietnamese are literally aliens. I think it's more you've got this crew crew of Marines going into a completely alien place, being overly cocky about it and just being wiped out because. In this case, the vents are speaking alien. In Vietnam, obviously, it's the trees speaking Vietnamese.
So it's not Cameron saying should have just nuked the whole place.
To be fair, they did napalm all the forests, so they tried that, but they didn't quite get to that point in this. So maybe.
No, most of the filmmakers weren't pro napalm, though, were they?
No. Well. After your squad's been wiped out, just napalm the village. The Americans did that, seemed to go all right, but they're not people in this, so I feel less bad about it.
Yes, well, yeah, I look forward to when we get to discuss the xenomorph comparison. I'll hold fire on that.
That's fine. I did find one very big-brained interpretation of it that makes me feel so much better about my own interpretation. We'll say that when we get to the Queen, maybe. Oh man. Yeah, so I wanted to acknowledge that Ripley would never want to do this. She initially just says, yeah, clear him out. And they're not going with it because they've got their own interests, which is, of course, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation have got their own interests. They act believably, but they are seeing things purely in material terms. But setting it here is a really good way of sort of, you know what Burke's priority is. It's there from the start. So that fails. But the film, let's be honest, needs to get Ripley to the aliens again. And that's difficult for the story.
Yeah.
So then they have her doing...
It's a classic refusal of the call kind of moment, isn't there?
Oh. See, this is where you're perfect to have on. Yes, it is a refusal of the call, indeed. And in very believable terms, she is... you find out she actually doesn't have any family to return to, which I thought was very well done. And you then find out, she can't do the job that she used to do, so she doesn't have the prestige there. And they basically try that initial blackmailing, and it doesn't really take. And then
they try and incentivize her with you can have your old job back, rather than blackmailing. But yeah, she's still just not having it because she doesn't want to die, which is fair enough, in my opinion. But yeah, she's. Sorry, you go.
No, please, Haryan, go on. I've talked for ages.
All I was going to say, is just she's having these nightmares. She's clearly suffering from PTSD, and obviously to try and get over it, it's just, I need to go and kill them. Are we just going to kill them? Burke says, yeah, you've got my word on that, and then she just hangs up. It's like, right, good enough for me. And then next scene, they're all waking up from the cryo sleep.
I love that so much. Yeah. I just wanted to highlight this because this is a director's cut only scene, and I think it's really important. You don't see it for long, but we will point out that this is Sigourney Weaver aged up. It's just her. Quite artfully done. Very nice.
Yeah.
And it does have that sort of tragic thing of, her family are gone. But it also, this is her daughter. But it builds into her strong arc for this, which is sort of Ripley's negotiation of herself as a woman, herself as, needing a maternal instinct. The daughter here is gone, but she finds very much a need to sate her maternal instincts when she meets Newt. She's still got that need to protect.
Yes.
But interestingly, I find that Ripley is contrasted with the alien queen. That this is kind of the 80s feminism that goes into the movie. It is not the same worldview that Dan O'Bannon put in with Alien. But it is in there, I think. Like, the alien queen is very much like a pure biological... she's got purely biological telos. She exists to breed. She exists to pump out. Just pump out eggs in it and do nothing else. Whereas Ripley, I think, is contrasted to that. It's interesting that her enemy is something... basically a woman who's there only to breed. And it's sort of... The message, I feel, is more like she is maternal. She is a woman, but she's not just a breeding machine. How's that sound?
Yes, and I think credit should be given to the writing of Ripley as a character for being such a rounded and non-ideological female lead character in an action movie. I felt at least was I think there's been significant decline, I guess, since then in terms of when you get a woman in an action movie, she's a puppet for a political point, whereas Ripley here feels like a character, with character beats. Imagine that.
Oh, you're spoiling us.
Whereas today it's Captain Marvel's just, I've got to steal guys' motorbikes because they told me to smile. With Ripley, it's, you're not doing anything, fine, I'll do something if you're not. Which is a lot better than I'm on female protagonists, I'd say, where everyone just likes them instantly.
Yeah, I don't know how else to say it other than this is good female writing. And the credit should go to James Cameron. It's his screenplay, although he did have story assistants. I'm going to have to look this up quickly, I'm afraid. They are not names I recognise. David, I can't pronounce that, Geiler and Walter Hill. I suspect they may have been much more early in the production process from what I remember from the legal battles. But it's similar to the situation in Alien. It's not good female characters, it's good characters. Some of them are female.
Yes.
Vasquez is here as kind of like a counterpoint. But even she is not just a pure stereotype here.
No. And there's just interesting things like Ripley is both shown being able to wield a gun and be an action hero, but also seen in a maternal role. And likewise, who's it, Velasquez?
Vasquez.
Vasquez is both seen as being, as physical as the guys, and she's a, tomboy or whatever. But then also she does end up at one point needing one of the guys to come and save her in one scene, not because she's female, but just I guess I feel from experience of more recent films that wouldn't be permissible for a female character who's supposed to be an action star to ever be vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you just said it well earlier. These are good characters, all of them. Some just happen to be women. Where, I don't know how realistic. What century is this based? Is it 22nd or 23rd? Or am I way off on that?
Oh, I actually have a screenshot. It will take me forever, but there is a date on it.
However long in the future. I don't know how realistic it is to have, co-ed Marine squads at that point, but because I don't know if we're going to go through a thing in the 21st century where we try that and it turns out to be terrible. But either way, I'll let the film do its thing with it. So I don't think it impacts it negatively. So
how realistic is it? Not very. There are not very many. It's kind of interesting. Vasquez you'd probably have a bit of trouble today. Obviously a Latina character. She's played by a very small Jewish woman who has had makeup that I believe the BBFC now officially condemns.
Really?
Yes. She is in no way Latina, but she gives an absolutely wonderful performance. Well done, Jeanette Goldstein. Nailed it.
So the BBFC doesn't allow you to wear makeup that changes your race. Is that the?
This is a thing from 2021. They had a whole ruling of this. Spoilers for part 8 of BBFC history, guys. I discovered this when I spent a fair bit of my weekend researching this because I was interested, right? Back in the day, speaking of don't say gay, the BBFC would not let you put out homosexual content. In fact, it was so taboo. It's not even listed in the original 43 banned, I guess, topics or things to include. The closest you'd get is just impropriety and immorality. They do not name it, but given the fact that vigorous dancing is named as something that is inappropriate, I'm going to suggest that whoopsies way out of the question. So that's back in 1912, right? You've still got it being snipped and excluded in 1961, something like Basil Dearden's Victim. I'm getting to the point. So at what point? But I noticed recently you have films where it's actually homophobic language is marked as inappropriate. So it's basically at which point does the BBFC go from saying homosexuality cannot be featured to saying homophobia cannot be featured, or if it is featured, it is treated as
Bad.
Yes. And so I spent a lot of time researching that. And if you're interested for a spoiler, the answer is Tony Blair is the reason.
He's everywhere.
He is the cause of that switcheroo. I just thought that was really interesting because obviously there was a switch at some point. Yeah.
Thanks, Blair.
Yeah. Also interesting what you were saying about whether they're banning it at all or banning it from being depicted in a certain way, because if you just ban something entirely, then you're actually missing out on an opportunity to push society in one direction or the other by featuring it and painting something in a certain light. But then how do you I guess how do you know in a rigorous way whether a film is making a positive or negative statement on a topic? That's a much harder thing to rule on, I would think.
Oh yeah, that is a very challenging question. The film would look to things like they try and point as to whether something is present uncritically.
Isn't there quite a lot of heat is made in liberal circles about the fact that characters often die after, what is it? Like there was a period where in films and TV, if a character had sex, then they would then die soon afterwards. Like that was their punishment from God, that they've been polluted and now they must leave this mortal coil. But I think also the same thing. Characters reveal themselves to be some form of diversity. So they're revealed as gay, and then even though they're treated positively, the script then martyrs them soon afterwards.
I have heard this. I have my doubts. What is it we said? Have you got a study for that? Have you got a source?
Yes.
It's like I heard by the way, I've turned your mic up, Luke. Just
thank you.
Chat was saying it was a bit low. Hopefully that's better.
Okay. Hopefully this is better now.
No worries. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's like the classic thing is the black guy dies first trope, which I don't see. I mean, you can just think of any number, maybe even the Friday the 13th Part 6 that we mentioned. Oh, actually, was that Part 6 or Part 3? I will know if I searched those darn enchiladas. Let me see. I've got to find out which one it is. Chat, help me. Which one? Oh, it's Part 5. I apologize. That guy's about the 8th person to die in there. Yes, it's one of these odd things that I think is a bit more of a trope that people notice rather than backed up by the actual material.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're talking about the trope is the bury your gays trope.
That's it, yes.
Which only works if you care about the gay characters.
Which I never
Otherwise,
do, so.
They are relying on you having an emotional, sympathetic reaction.
So what you're saying is that even if the data bears it out, it might have the opposite kind of conclusion about what the filmmakers are assuming.
Yes, I mean, let's reject empiricism of all kinds, except ones that help. We should probably get back onto the film, lest we
sorry.
incur the wrath of
Yep.
Super Nanny. Don't worry. But yeah, so this is just something I really liked, the way the story slowly forces Ripley into the role she's effectively meant to do. She has to do it. She has to take on the aliens. But they just the plot just quite artfully removes the choices until it gets her there. So incrementally gets her onto the ship, then gives her a emotional connection via Newt. And then, she was never meant to do any of the fighting, but then everyone is wiped out about an hour into the movie, including the fantastic Sergeant Apone. I love this guy.
Mr. I wake up from cryo sleep, first thing I do, put a cigar in my mouth. Incredible.
He's so good, and I can't find the screenshot of him. He's my dude. Where is he?
I really like all the Marine dialogue as well. I think every time Marine talks, I laugh. I just it's really well written, and they feel really real as well.
I have to. I'm just checking because I really don't want to get this wrong because I messed this up last time. This is not. Oh gosh, what's a guy's name? I want to say L. Matthews. And I'm really determined to get it right. It is L. Matthews. Thank you. Because last time I did the bad thing and I got him confused and I said Carl Weathers because I was thinking of I was thinking of Predator and I like Carl Weathers. So sorry. That's L. Matthews, and he was also the technical coordinator. Sorry, a technical advisor because he is a Vietnam veteran. And he gave the crew helpful tips on authenticity, including don't point guns loaded with blanks at fellow actors. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well.
That is indeed a bad idea. They can still hurt.
Yes.
So
that's been one of my favourite memes from the last few days. Is it was a good job Chris Rock didn't defend Alex Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin, yeah. And someone put the scene from American Psycho where he just shoots the receptionist.
I saw the one of Will Smith with his broken teary face with Will Smith when he finds out The Rock is hosting next year.
Excellent memes.
As you said, Luke, okay, the Marines, by and large, are not particularly deep characters. No. By and large, they're nice. They're not one-dimensional, but maybe 1.6. They've got some shading.
Yeah, and it's not really fair to criticize a character for not giving a full backstory to the 16th character on the call list.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But the scenes with them just hanging about, they're so much fun.
Yeah.
There's something I really liked. The mood, it's a crowd pleaser. It's James Cameron throwing us a bone, basically. Getting some great quips in.
Alien is like visiting an art gallery, and Aliens is like reading a comic book.
Please,
in the nicest way.
They're graphic novels, Luke, and they're serious literature. So please don't insult my Lost Girls, which is kept for literary purposes.
This is definitely more a roller coaster than as you say, a museum or art gallery or something like that. Yeah. Which what works out. I mean.
Great crowd pleasing bands. Great. I mean, I know so many people. The second I mentioned we're doing this film, they quoted "Game over, man! Game over,
man!"
Bill Paxton, absolute legend. Sadly passed. I seem to recall, but there's also some subtle gold being woven in here. Let's not forget. In amidst great quips such as the one to Vasquez, has anyone ever mistaken you for a man?
No. How about you?
Absolute fantastic lines. I love it so much. And
yeah, I think that's what I like about the dialogue. It can just so easily be one or two, but it's whole conversations of it. And it's like when they're doing the briefing as well, and Hudson comes in like, "What can I do to get out of this chicken-s uniform?" And
you stole that S, Hudson.
Yeah, the sergeant like shouts at him once, and then when the briefing's over, he's like, "Right, get it," and you just know he's gonna get bollocked.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it did inspire the one that I absolutely had to include. I'm just going to play it quickly because I just enjoyed it too much. Where is it?
Rescue mission. It's a rescue mission. You'll love it. There's some juicy
Audience members.
we have to rescue from their
Super chats.
Dumbass Collins.
I had to do it. I had to do it. Sorry, forgive me for playing it twice, but I had fun.
You're the one risking the Eye of Sauron from.
Shall I check?
Copyright strike.
Are we
You'll
not?
be fine.
We're
You'll be fine. Don't worry
fine.
about it.
Susan approves. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh no,
yeah.
we have angered Susan. It's no, we're good. We're good. Don't worry. That's a different thing. Weirdly, she's been striking a fair few things of mine, but then reversing them without me doing anything. Thank you, Susan.
Oh, nice. Thank you, YouTube. You're a generous god.
So yeah, just wanting to point out a few bits of lovely foreshadowing that are in here. So just setting you up here for the old milk, that's inside them.
Yeah, I really liked Ripley's reaction to finding out there's an android here, and she loses it. Like, don't come near me. They're bad, and he's just trying to say, no, we're a new model. We've got an inhibitor chip now.
I love the way they took it. It's I'll just get one more bit in there, and then I'd love to come back to that. But there's a bit of foreshadowing as well that I've got saved. And I just wanted to note because it's really nicely done. And I may even be able to find it. Is it 10? No. Oh, I'm sorry, forgive me, guys. There's a nice scan around the hangar. And they just subtly drop things they're going to use later.
Like the exosuits and...
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Everything's real. Because I was thinking as well, why was he bleeding when I was watching the film? Like, why was milk coming out of him? And it's because he just did the knife hand game thing, and he obviously nicked himself. And I'm like,
yes, I didn't catch that either.
Yeah,
that's a good catch. Well done. I missed that.
That's why I love this film. There's always something new to catch.
Just in the scan around the bay, they show you the doors that are going out into outer space. They show you her using the mech suit. Just lovely bit of setup and payoff. We love it. Not drawing huge amounts of attention to it. Just putting it in there so you know.
It's interesting that the character conflict is wielded in the same way. I feel like the script writing approaches both the human and the human-alien interactions in quite a similar way, where the violence of human-alien interactions is mirrored by argumentation. So there's going to be tension set up in this scene, and then 5 or 6 scenes later, it bubbles up into a disagreement. So it's kind of interesting to compare those two kinds of conflict in the film.
Are you meaning with Burke in particular?
Well, yeah, but a few of them have their little disagreements. I noticed them as I was going through, but I'm going to struggle to remember character names and describe them now. But yeah.
Oh, don't worry about it. I really like this tension as well because I think there's a sort of conscious effort not to directly redo Alien, and so they go in with the knowledge of Ripley's suspicion about synthetics. And Bishop, I think, plays it very, very grey for a while. Very suspicious. And I think it helps that it's Lance Henriksen who does bring a bit of a sinister energy, but his sort of reassuring, almost, it's like a cheesy joke. I prefer the term synthetic.
Well, he prefers
Oh,
the
sorry,
term,
what's the term?
Something human. It's like artificial human or something like that.
Yeah.
Something more humanizing than synthetic, anyway.
Yes,
see if I can find the line.
It's a nice one, isn't it? It's something disarming about him giving you this humanizing touch that Ripley is not going with at all.
Yeah, no, she's just freaked out. Go on.
I tried to Google for the quote, and all I'm finding is stories about Demi Lovato saying that she thinks the term aliens is derogatory to extraterrestrials.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. They're trying to kill you, dude.
So
it
turns out
it is
that
artificial person, yeah.
The real world is more ridiculous than this this movie.
Colour me surprised.
Oh dear.
Clown world, dude. Game over.
Gosh. Also, it's so disarming. Like, it's quite a good clue as well. The way they talk shop about saying, "Oh, of course, you had an old model. They were notoriously sketchy." It's like, he went on a rampage and tried to murder her, and you're just like, "Oh yeah, they did that sometimes." Yeah. Thank goodness we're off with them.
We now repress these behaviours. It's like, that makes me feel slightly better, I guess.
There's an interesting one here. Yeah, Maverick, you think they would, but it's interesting that they've been consistently showing that the synths are basically very sketchy, and I've always kind of wondered how they how that thing that you'd think goes very against the grain of modern movie ethics has stayed in. Like, I'm thinking Prometheus and Covenant. They've always been sketchy. I can't remember Alien Resurrection, because thank goodness. But we may not do Alien Resurrection. Well, we'll see how it goes. I can't promise I'll make you do that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just think it's probably a Ridley Scott, an actual one of his axes he has to grind is about don't trust artificial people.
It's a message that you think in an obvious context is very humanistic. You cannot replicate humans. We are flesh creatures. Not flesh creatures. We are more than material. You cannot replicate us. There is something to a human
Blade
spirit.
Runner in some ways, right?
Yeah. That'd be a. Well, it's probably a bit more troubled, a bit more problematized in Blade Runner. Come to think of it, but I'm not as good on that film. Whereas, how can I say, there's an obvious other reading of the message of people who may be human, but you should not trust them. They are not like us. Easily read as a sort of, I think they would call it a bigotry. So it's interesting how that portrayal could be taken without the director giving a clear steer either way. Whether it's a bigoted reading or a deeply humanistic reading. I don't even want to say humanistic. It's a nice. It's treating humanity as something sacred. I quite like.
Yeah. I could see how you could imagine somebody deciding that humans in the film represent a subset of humans in reality, and therefore it's a problematic message. But I don't think that's what Ridley was doing, or his. Well, we've drifted slightly off from Aliens, haven't we? But it's the same. It's Ridley's ideas being worked in here, isn't it? By Cameron.
Yeah, it's I think it's a more accessible idea, as we talked about. It's a little more hitting the popular targets, but it doesn't feel like there's a ideological clash between Cameron and Ridley Scott in their vision for Alien.
No.
In fact, I think Cameron kind of, without a clash, as I said, he sort of develops Ripley a lot more, and he's happily, whereas Ridley Scott wrote the characters to be effectively genderless, you know, in that they were just surnames and any actor could go for them. Cameron does develop Ripley and give her that femininity that I quite like.
Yeah, definitely.
And is there a thing you'd like to touch on next, now that we've got them in space and about to go on to LV-426?
Are you talking to me?
I wondered if you might want to talk about the guns, Harry.
Are we moving on to the guns, my specialist subject on this? Yeah, I hope you have screenshots of them.
Oh, yeah.
Of
course I do.
They are really cool. You may not know this, but I think James Cameron actually likes guns more than me. So he put massive amounts of effort into this. So, it's not... I mean, it's a good scene, but it's not got the profile on it, but you don't really need it. So I've completely forgotten her name.
Vasquez?
Vasquez, yes. She has what was it called? An M59 smart gun, I think it's called. So it targets for you, and the bullets actually hit their target. But that was designed by Cameron himself. He had concept art from it. What it essentially is a German MG42 with a load of motorbike parts put on it. So the actual handle and trigger is a brake and handlebar from a motorbike, and at the front it's got the kind of front bit of a motorbike that the wheel attaches to. Oh, wow. And it's just to make it slightly more sci-fi. And then obviously it's actually attached to the person to give them a third point of contact to make it slightly lighter. No, they were carrying that thing, and that thing would have weighed a ton. Because you're basically carrying half a motorbike and an actual machine gun as well.
Yeah, the feeling I get from that is that it looks like it also has some Steadicam parts put into it.
Yeah, so that'll be the stabilizer thing that'll hopefully help them carry it. But these were heavy, and they basically used cardboard cutouts for kind of when they were in the background. They were that heavy. But the more interesting gun is probably the pulse rifle. The main assault rifle looking thing. This was directly based off. Yeah, there you go. This was directly based off, as it's a Vietnam allegory, the M16 with a grenade launcher. And if you squint, you can kind of see a similarity with the carry handle and all that. So James Cameron wanted these guns to be so good, he actually went out and tested a load of guns for muzzle flash, because he wanted good muzzle flash for his action scenes, because he originally wanted it to be an MP5, which is kind of a short type of thing. It's in the Matrix proper horror show. It's the one that he slaps.
that one.
Yeah, that kind. It's a bigger version of that.
That looks too contemporary, whereas this.
Well, yeah, obviously he's got to mess around with it, but.
By the way, I've got the other thing I've got to point out is like, in all our talk of aliens, we didn't talk about one of the great legacies of it, Laser Quest.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Laser Quest, Quasar, whatever it was called around you.
Basically, my birthday party for about 10 years of my life.
Oh, yeah. That is a classic. You turn 10. Oh, can we go to Laser Quest? Yes.
Yeah. They were just blatantly designed. Well, the one around, two of the ones around me were just completely based around the sets here, and the design I think is so obviously. I loved it.
Yeah,
the one where I was let you choose the soundtrack, so I'd come in there and be like,
nice.
Matrix original soundtrack. Get it on, guys.
I used to really enjoy going around the Laser Quest very slowly, having the alien experience. And then you'd get out afterwards and you'd look at the scores and see the people at the top who'd been having the aliens experience of blasting people every 2 seconds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, onto this gun design. This is actually 3 different guns just kind of mushed together with aluminium molded over it. So the top part is actually a Thompson submachine gun used by the US Armed Forces in World War II. It's the gun from Saving Private Ryan.
Oh.
The main ones that they use. So he just took the barrel of that, put it on top, and then he got 2 different types of shotgun. I think it's an M870. So kind of your regular wooden pump action shotgun. It's the barrel of that with a Spaz 12 put over it. I don't know why you got 2 different shotguns for that, but it looks kind of cool. So that's the grenade launcher underneath, and then basically it's just molded aluminium on top. So again, this was a really heavy gun, but looks really cool with a sci-fi ammo counter on the side for the audience, because it's on the wrong side of the gun to be useful to actually anyone using it. But
Oh no, I can't unsee that. No, Haryan.
I'm sorry for pointing that out. And the grenade launcher, I can't see a trigger for the grenade launcher either. That bugs me as well, but the rest of the gun's just really cool. So, and it's caseless, which means you shouldn't see little brass bits flying out the gun, but some of them do in some shots, because obviously you need the gun to work. But yeah.
Can I point out something else about the scene that I absolutely loved? Is Ripley doesn't know how to use them, and it is not taken as a slight against our strong female character,
right?
That she asked to be trained, and someone teaches her, and I love that. She's not just, you know, for instance, able to hop in an X-wing and take out 3 TIE fighters with one shot.
No.
She says, "I don't know how to do this. Can you train me?" And we get that set up. You know, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
great.
Yes.
I thought they were going to go down in a ghost direction here with him reaching around to show her how to use the gun.
Yes, it's about the counter on the side there. That basically, if you're using the gun, you would not see the bullet count.
Yeah, basically the only time you ever look at that side of a gun in real life is to check if like you're out of bullets, because the bolt will be open. But it's pointless with a caseless one. So it would be more use on the other side, basically. So it is basically just for the audience, but I don't really mind because it looks really cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and a lot of thought went into it, as I say. I mean, yeah, he literally spent like 2 days just testing a load of guns to see which one had the best muzzle flash. There's footage of it as well. If you look on GameSpot's channel, they did a whole episode on the pulse rifle in called Loadout. It's got a guy from Leeds in it, from the Royal Armouries as well, so he knows what he's talking about. It's great.
I think with the name pulse rifle, it would be shooting out lasers, but it's not, is it? It's just it is bullets.
No, yeah, it's caseless explosive ammunition. That's why they can't shoot them later, because if one stray one goes off and blows up in the reactor core, it just makes a nuke. So, which is a really good reason to say, don't, you know, we're screwed against these aliens for a bit now because we can't shoot them. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good fun, and we should probably let's talk about the 2 big scenes where they use them. These are iconic, and as we said, this is a patient film. They make you wait. We're going to skip past when Newt has been discovered, which is kind of a lovely scene. Sure. And talk about like the iconic wasting of the Marines and its point in the story. Forgive me, just getting that ready. So again, we see a setup in the scene. We get the idea of tracking people's signatures on a little screen, something that will become extremely useful at multiple points in the story. Again, smart script, setting stuff up, making sure it uses it. They're going into the depths. You're starting to see, once again, this H.R. Geiger design where the ship becomes more... I think I let my Yorkshire out there a bit. Sorry, guys. The design becomes this weird, twisted, organic thing, which then is used, I think, even better than in Alien, because you not only have that design, you literally see the aliens in the walls unfurling in a way that you had not noticed them. You've also had it set up. So that just when they're going in here, you think they're going to meet their goal. They found where the colonists are. They're going to rescue them, and then suddenly they're told, "Oh yeah, you can't use your weapons." The tension is going up. It's a bit forced, maybe. It's a bit devious on the old screenwriting, but I will allow it. It is not the thing that annoys me most in the film, so I will permit it. And they just then going into the depths, you once again see something that you are familiar with from Alien if you saw the director's cut, which I'm not sure the average audience member will have, but the person who is cocooned in the wall, sort of fate worse than death situation. Oof. And then the horror unfurls. This is my strongest memory of the film. So I watched this when I was 9, taped overnight, so I still had the ITV adverts in there. Lovely. Did break the tension a small amount. But the scene, the first time when an alien just uncurls from the wall after, oh man, that shook me up. What did we think of this scene, folks? What did we think of it?
Very effective in terms of horror. It is one of those rare times when I'm actually watching a horror film and I feel genuine tension. It is surprisingly rare because we've done this for over a year now, but it is quite rare that I'm like genuinely tense in a scene. Because I don't think a lot of them build up to it as well as this has. Because as we've been saying, we're about an hour in. We've not even shot a gun yet, and we've not even seen an alien. But the tension's just been rising because we obviously go through those halls with the acid blood that's melted through the floor, and the audience obviously knows what's coming. But and you've got these cocky Marines that they think it's a bug hunt. They don't think it'll be that big a deal. So going in with that mindset, you just know a few of them are going to get picked off, and yeah, as you say, uncurling from the walls, you're just waiting.
Nightmarish. It's just a thing of it was there in plain sight. Just since you said the magic word, bug hunt. Yeah. I want to ask you guys whether I'm being silly here, but this caused me some consternation. So in the scene with the corporate board, the suits, they're very skeptical of the idea of the xenomorph. And then the Marines are just like, oh, it's a bug hunt. It's like, they're like, oh yeah, it's probably aliens all over the place. Yeah. Is that a contradiction? Like,
no, I don't think they mean xenomorphs necessarily. Because I think they probably go out and kill local kind of dangerous alien wildlife, and they end up just calling it a bug hunt. So they think they know something's gone on, but they don't necessarily think it's. I mean, no one believes Ripley, as they say.
I just wasn't sure if there was a doubt over the particular kind of alien she describes.
Yeah, I think there was because they say there's actually no evidence of this creature anywhere because you killed it. It's out in deep space somewhere. The ship it came on's destroyed. All we've got to go off is your word. And you don't know what's happened after 57 years in cryo sleep. Like that can affect your memory as well. Maybe they're thinking. But no, I don't think it's a contradiction. I think it's just cocky Marines.
Okay.
Who aren't because I'm just not taking her seriously when she's saying this thing will kill you because it's got acid blood and all that. Because it sounds made up, to be fair. Like this thing goes on your face, impregnates you, and then spits acid when you make it bleed. So I can understand that.
Fair play. It gave me a small annoyance. So Lambda, how was this scene for you? Because I'm interested in how you feel as someone who's not going to horror very often.
Yes. No, I did like it. I think as Haryan was saying, the fact that the film is patient pays dividends because you're anticipating, you know what's going to happen in the film to some degree, even though I didn't know the plot before I watched it. But it's pretty obvious that you're going to see aliens So it was simultaneously. It's funny you get that combination, and I think this is common in horror, I guess, that you simultaneously are vicariously scared, but also there's kind of a glee in there's the monster, yes. Like, you're kind of relishing in the appearance of the bad guy in a strange kind of way. So yeah, I thought really really effective. The design of the alien, I think I preferred in Alien rather than Aliens, though. I mean, maybe it was just that one particular gangly dude that they got to fit the suit in Alien. That he was a bit more humanoid and less bug-like, and if I remember correctly, the Xenomorph design.
So are you saying they're a little more human in this?
No, I thought. Well, I what I was saying was more human in the first one. In that it's more of a buggy kind of. Yeah, I can't quite describe it correctly, but I think perhaps the broader point to make actually is not so much the costume design, but the function, the mystery. So in Alien, you don't really know how intelligent the Xenomorph is. It could be that it knows everything. It understands all the technology. It can speak English, and it's just playing with its food. Or it could be that it's just a dumb feral animal acting on instinct. There's that kind of deep questioning that nature versus here that it's just handled differently. So maybe it's not so much the costume then as the but that's jumping ahead a little bit.
That's okay. There's definitely some nice movement in this that I do feel is a lot more animalistic. And just a few gorgeous shots of the alien jumping from wall to wall.
Yes.
But you see it also briefly here. Also, in the scene of the chaos, you're not seeing very much of them at all, which is, I think, building the anticipation, also helping add to the chaos. You're feeling what the Marines are feeling. You've got no idea. You constantly go back to Ripley, Gorman, and Burke watching and just being absolutely dismayed. I could not get a decent still image of it. So just wanted to recap. This is lovely direction from Cameron. He has the camera swing closely from screen to screen, not in a systematic all the way left and good and now up and all the way right. No, he has the camera wildly swing from screen to screen as if you're Ripley just trying to follow the action. It is beautifully done. Gorman is sweating, looking unglamorous. It's effective. We sadly also lose a Pone.
We do, unfortunately. He had his cool moments and he's dead.
We hardly knew him.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, Harry?
It is. Sorry, I muted myself for no reason. With all the Marines just absolutely losing it and trying to get out of there in a panic is very believable. And the lieutenant's just like, I don't know what to do. This is my second combat drop. And so Ripley's like, oh, well, I've got to save him. Let's drive.
Yeah, I really liked Gorman on this rewatch. I found him really sympathetic, just because of him getting to sweat. Desiccated Limbs, you're all right. You can enjoy the rewatch if you're interested. We're deep in Aliens, deep in spoilers, which we actually didn't say, but spoilers for a film from 1986, one of the best loved horror sci-fis of all time. And we've got up to the bit where the Marines have been attacked en masse by the aliens for the first time, which is actually really far into the film. And I will highlight something. I was going to pass over it, but Waifu raised it. Yes, there is confirmation that, oh crikey, what is her name? Gosh darn it, she is played by Veronica Cartwright. What is her name? Sorry, Lambert. There's a confirmation in the scene with the corporate board. They just have bios of the old characters there. And when she comes up, there's like this really brief moment. I had to pause it. I could not find the non-blurred bit. But even from the blur, I could make out that weirdly her bio does confirm she's trans, which is not referenced at any point in Alien, and it's something that's added in by Cameron. I don't know why, because
J.K. Rowlingism, you know, and
maybe.
They were all gay too.
It's an interesting one. It's like because I don't know what to think of it. Yes, that's it. Yes, yeah, it's Joan Lambert, and it's confirmed here. It is sort of background detail. Because I don't think the gender stuff is really that big in this. There are little bits, but the sort of horror and hermaphrodism that Geiger builds in really, really strongly in Alien, I don't feel is super strong here. Like there's a moment with Burke that I'll just get the screen cap up for that I thought was quite telling. It might take me a while to find it, guys. Got it. Like in this one, you've got kind of like obviously very sort of female structures when you get a close up. It was actually, I didn't want to risk a direct screen cap of the facehugger's anatomy. I thought that might be a bit much for Susan. But you see, how can I put this for a family-friendly stream? There's clearly a sort of anatomical dualism in the facehugger's nether regions. I think that was euphemistic enough. There's a bit of the old hyena going on, but I don't feel that the film has much commentary on that. What do you reckon, guys?
No, I think it's just basing it off the design from the last film.
Yeah.
So.
But the facehugger impregnates the person who it latches onto, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that was very tied into the very second wave feminism of Aliens. You know, I mean, that stuff is in here again, but it's so if you remember, you know, the horror is there of, oh no, the forced pregnancy. And that is here again. And of course you will note that it is a man who wishes to trap two women and make them pregnant and not allow them to have control over their own bodies. And it's not just a man, it's a corporation. Oh my gosh. It's literally a male control structure, a patriarchy, if you will. It's like, that is in here. I think it's just a continuation of elements of Alien. There's also the stuff that we talked about right at the start about the alien queen is basically the female who is only there to breed. And so these elements are in there, but I don't think they're anywhere near as driving as they were in Alien.
Well, yeah, because I think they just used the queen as kind of a, well, you know, you've got queen bees, you've got queen ants. It's just going off that. But this one can detach itself from its egg sac and fight. Which was a disgusting scene, but...
Yeah, I struggled with that. I winced. I almost looked away. I've seen this film maybe 6 times, and I had to look away at that bit. I don't know.
Lambda, you need to watch more horror films. That's what you need.
Clearly, yeah.
I have genuinely wondered about like an arc where I'll literally just try and scare the crap out of you, Harry, and like go with the most intense stuff I know. Like, what will actually scare him? Maybe. Sorry, folks. I mean, I also thought if we can, shall we maybe go to the other scene with the guns, the one that I thought was maybe a bit scarier? Because I like the first one.
Yeah, the one in the colony.
Yeah. Oh. I love it. I love it. We've had a lot of setup for that.
Yeah.
I think I've got the perfect image for it. I also want to note at a certain point, forgive me, I'm going to flash through a few images here.
Mm-hmm.
So just after Ripley has been trained to shoot, she goes to support Newt and sleep. And it's the first time that we get a really strong red colouring in the scene when they're attacked by the facehugger because of Burke's treachery. And we then get another one. It's absolutely beautiful image. I love it. James Cameron, amazing director. It's iconic. It's gorgeous. These shades of red are actually really Brian De Palma. Do not worry, guys, but I get big vibes of a film called The Fury, but I think that might have been out basically the same year. I'll have a quick check, but this is, again, just the point of the red colouring is coming in really strong. Sorry, no, The Fury was 1978, so we're okay. So I just want you to note that red colouring, which is really new and really strong from this scene. And then it's after
been
that.
Very, very blue so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And we stick with that. And then we get into this scene and sort of bringing the threat, but we get little elements of contrast. The red background and then this blue. It's that strong contrast that makes the film feel really intense. This is nice colour work.
Yeah, and it's weird that blue's gone.
I was just going to say, back to the heightened reality, isn't it? There's lots of cases where the lighting is clearly so strong, it's an emotional tone and not really justified in ship design, or why have they got the ship so dimly lit? Well, because it's dramatic. We're watching a play,
and that's a strong contact. Sorry, that is a strong contrast to Alien, where everything was really brightly lit and kind of draining.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that there is great stuff happening in the chat with people imagining Jane Austen rewriting this. And just...
Parasite and Prejudice.
Kudos, Desiccated Limbs. That made me chuckle. I'm very happy about that. Oh dear. More Jane Austen horror films. I want them. Keep them going. Not Predator and Prejudice? I don't know. Never mind. Okay. I'm going to keep an eye out. If you get more ones, chat, I'm going to see it. This scene for me is just so much more effective, even though I like the first one, which is chaos. Okay. But it sort of answers the question that we were wondering, like, hey guys, summer blockbuster time. It's a whole bunch of Marines taking on the alien. Oh, who's going to win? Like, on a certain level, that scene is kind of just answering that question. And then so much of it is the sort of more interesting fallout from that.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, I do, as you were saying with colour before, red actually means safe, and blue is the danger here, when it's usually the other way around, which I find quite interesting. But yeah, just absolutely loads of aliens coming through, and they don't know where they are. Because I love that scene where he just peeks through the ceiling tile, and you just see 4 of them scrunching towards them.
Again, but this is good filmmaking. Yeah. We've had the setup. This is one of our payoffs. We know we've got trackers. You're tracking them. They're coming. This is the rule that has been set up, but you can't see them. So,
and they go, well, they surely are approaching in the corridor. Surely they're not going through the floor or something.
So,
that's
where they're
going to come
Thank
from.
you.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they end up checking, and that's kind of another. I mean, it's kind of a reverse Vietnam, because obviously the Vietnamese were in the tunnels, and the Americans just didn't know where they were. And this time it's I mean, they do use tunnels, but they use the ceiling there. I mean, that's just a great shot.
It's such a good shot. I mean, also you almost never see them this directly, but crawling towards you upside down. It's so unnerving. They feel like cockroaches.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's that brilliant build up, the setup and the payoff. Very good.
Cockroaches, that's a good reference. Yeah, that's true. Maybe that is the primal fear that this entire franchise is based off of. My house is infected. You know, they're coming through the walls. That must be a really deep human thing.
Well, yeah, definitely, because obviously in both films are based in areas that should feel safe. You know, your ship you've been on for however many years, and then this one, it's a colony that's been here for 20 years, and it's just been, it's almost post-apocalyptic, the colony on Aliens.
But it is very insectoid, isn't it? The exoskeleton and the way they move.
Interesting. I might push back on that. I think in a sense, like, it's such an unrelatable setting. I almost feel like the horror can't really touch the deep primal stuff, other than that thing looks weird, that thing moves weird, it's creepy in the dark, like, which is not to say this isn't good horror, but this isn't like
and it's not a welcoming, friendly, homely environment, is it? So that doesn't quite add up. Like, in a sense, it's you're stranded in space, so you're in an inhospitable place, and you're in the small refuge that you've got. And I in some ways, that's probably why blue is the color of danger, because it's the color of cold, and space is cold, and you've got this little pocket of life, this tiny amount of life support systems that are barely able to keep you going. But the blue is coming in, and you're about to become part of the void.
Yeah, you do get blue a few times. I mean, there's strong red danger multiple times in just some incredible shots. Like, this is a nice, basically doing the vent scene in Alien, but better. Because I just love this. This looks like a kind of Lovecraftian mass. You can barely tell what is what, but it's coming towards you very quickly. You do not have time to know. But then contrast that beautiful red with an absolutely chilling blue. That might take me a few seconds to find. There we go. By the way, how iconic is this shot?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But they got me.
I feel like where this is activating our fears, it's activating very sort of surface level ones, if you will. Like, this is easy. Like, I'm scared for this child. I worry for this child. Oh gosh, a horrible thing is taking this child. The fear of, I know I'm going to have to carry on with the quest into a dark, scary place. The person I'm with is a woman. She is inexperienced. The odds are against her. That kind of thing. And as well as grotesqueries, it's like, these are good fears. They're strong, but they aren't the kind of like deep core of your soul fears that really unsettle.
I think the face huggers taps into fear of suffocation. It's probably the most sort of visceral, to me at least. I think when the aliens grab someone and eat them, then it's a bit of a sort of happens off screen. You're not getting a lot of very graphic, gory violence. But the scene where the two, Ripley and this girl were being suffocated, and it's long enough time that you empathise with them not having been able to breathe. That's quite primal, I think.
Yeah. I would say the face huggers are the most effective because they're on a scale you can imagine. They are effectively a big spider. Like, the movement reminds me of that, so I can emphasize with that. And then the idea of the face being covered up by them, and the person being unpersoned and dehumanized by it, that sort of hits a lot deeper than anything else, I think. But we should probably move on lest we enrage Super
10
Nanny.
minutes.
Oh no.
Can we do it? Possibly not, but we'll give it a go.
I wouldn't expect to get this done by hour 2.
in terms of pointing
Yeah.
out sort of how the how the fear works here, I did notice something that Cameron does when Ripley actually has to go and take on the mantle of the hero. Finally, it is basically her. It has to be her because no one else can do it when she's off to rescue Newt. So we have had that really strong motivation set in now. And the way it's shot when she prepares herself, which, by the way, clever character. We love seeing that. She sets herself up. She tapes the guns together. She's preparing.
Oh, yes.
This shot, I don't know if you noticed, we follow her for a heck of a lot of this. We're just following her from behind. Like we are with her peering into the darkness. I thought that was really good for building the empathy.
Yeah, you're pretty much going for the whole thing. She's got that tracker. You are, it switches from to first person every now and then to front shots, but you are behind her for it as well. Yeah. It's all very dark apart from when there's a few red pipes. Obviously, when she's a flamethrower and things like that. Really good stuff. It's very patient even at this point as well. Even after 2 relatively big action scenes, the climax. Well, what you think is the climax. It's just a quick rescue mission that's where you hope is going to be quiet for her.
Yeah, I also I just love that she's put into effect some of the learning. So as well as preparing the guns, she knows these things hide in the walls. I'm going to burn the walls.
And if it's not a xenomorph, all right, it's a person who's dead anyway.
Yes, absolutely. It's got that. It puts you in her shoes. You do feel like you're there with her. You're seeing what she's seeing. And you get those little close-ups to remind you it's her. But yeah, you're absolutely walking with her, and it's got that video game effect. We get these close-ups when she finally gets Newt as well to see her face. I love it. But then, of course, we meet... oh, gosh. With apologies, Susan. The Alien Queen. Oh. How do you feel about the Alien Queen, guys?
I'm on Ripley's side. I want to burn her.
Cuddly.
We're doing that hyena thing again, aren't we?
Are there queen cockroaches?
Ooh. That's an interesting one. I want to know. I should probably point out, by the way, none of this is H.R. Geiger. This is Stan Winston's work. Geiger was not on the film. So Stan Winston takes the lead for this. But I really like this subtle world building. Can we call this subtle? I don't know.
For Cameron, subtle.
Yes. I mean, compared to Unobtainium and Avatar, this is subtle. But it's a great bit of world building. Okay, yeah. Where do we see facehuggers come from the eggs? Where do the eggs come from? From her. But you have this long scan as well before you get to actually see her, and it's such a nice build up. How is the build up to actually seeing the Queen working for you, Lambda?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got this. The film has this nice way that it goes between action and then a lull. So it's just very well paced, I thought. So you kind of felt like too much build up, and you find yourself checking your watch. But I didn't have that with this film at all, and I was, well along for the ride. If you think of it as a roller coaster, it was perfect timing for when you had the tipping over the top of the drop, and then the whoosh. So yeah, I thought this was nice.
Yeah, it has that lovely standoff feel to me. The sort of Ripley has her moment. There's the moment where the Queen basically signals a bunch of other Xenos off, which is just intriguing for that subtle moment of they do communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Haryan, do we have queen cockroaches?
No, cockroaches do not have queens. They are dimorphic. So.
There you go. You cannot simp for real cockroaches.
Thank God for that.
Don't be tricked, guys. Do not be tricked.
Probably have to throw up. God, the lighting as well. Blue equal danger in this film, which I've not noticed before you brought up the colouring, but it's a really odd choice. And then obviously
Rob Agar has trained. Good. Oh, I'm sorry, I talked over you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm done.
I was just saying, Rob Agar has basically trained me to look at color in film, which you can say can be done too much, but sometimes you notice something quite interesting with this. And again, it's a flamethrower. The fire actually keeps her safe. Yeah, I like this as that standoff, and then the moment when Ripley decides, sod it, I'm burning it all down, and then.
I wonder if you could predict the color of the frames by the speed of the cuts. I bet you that whenever there's fast action happening, it goes red, and the cuts happen quicker.
I'd be tempted. I mean, I think there is on one level it is just to get that strong contrast, because fire certainly is not safe very soon. Also, kind of kudos that this is an 18 rated film, but in some ways it's quite restrained, possibly due to the budget. There's a few sort of big gory shots. I'll see if I can get one of them I saved up.
The chestbusters probably pushed it over the edge.
That was probably the harshest. They really struggled to get a chest bursting in Alien vs Predator because they kept that as a 12A. Sorry, PG-13 in America. I think it might have just tipped into a 15 here, but it was very tame. So this is from the turret scene, which is included. I'll be honest, I wouldn't have missed it. It didn't do much for me, but you got that little bit of splatter. But it does remind me of
I really enjoy the aliens getting absolutely demolished, to be honest.
So when I was a kid, obviously, I watched this when I was about 9 or something. I remember they were still making toys of this for young children. And one of them was a Xeno like this. And the action you could do is if you press the button, the chest exploded. Sold in Woolworths for 9-year-olds. You gotta love it. Isn't that brilliant?
Amazing.
They still do it today. So they have that, but then there's that moment of the Queen ripping herself off her egg sack. That was nice.
She abandoned her kids. What a terrible mother.
Terrible. So a few academics did actually try and do a racial analysis of Aliens, and they said it was about it was racist because Ripley is the white savior, and her big struggle is against a black female who has far too many kids and has taken over the white space. I'm like, this is in the 90s. They were.
No,
they
really
started
reached.
it early. That is some heckin' reach.
No, that's what I was meaning about. You could try and read into what these films are trying to do. You could always do that. I mean, it must be the easiest thing in the world to get I feel like you could get degrees in film studies where you just throw out these generally media studies. Oh yeah, here's a film. There's a good guy. There's a bad guy. So it was made in the past. So the bad guy is everybody was. It was a dog whistle that the bad guy was black and the good guy was white. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Edgy essay
It's probably just the academic strain of what's popular. Let's ruin it.
Yeah.
Oh no, Super Nanny's coming. It's okay, guys. We're Super Nanny will forgive us. It's still going to be within 2.5 hours.
Why is she walking down the stage towards me? What the?
Oh no! I'm getting that up again. Just gosh darn it! I feel it needs to be seen again, just for absolute glory.
It's not my fault. Her wife's bald.
I did really. I wish I'd had the time to. I was going to make a version of this with Ripley smacking the alien queen, but maybe we'll have it for next week. Just for fun. Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to talk about that moment of the queen ripping herself off from the sack and basically deciding like she's abandoning her purpose. She is now a pure agent of revenge, because it's quite an unusual moment in the film where it's quite. I don't know if you'd feel body horror is fair, but is very focused on trying to get a sort of yuck response from you for the pure anatomical detail.
Yeah, I mean,
body horror for the Xenomorphs in the audience.
Yeah.
Wait, how were you when watching that, Luke? Were you wincing?
Hello, yeah, definitely to some degree. Like I guess the fact that like it's not humans makes it easier to watch, but there's a yuck factor.
I thought it was nice to sort of shake it up. I wouldn't want the whole film to be that, but at a sort of climactic moment, that new style of horror really works in kind of like driving me to have a sort of sickened response and think, oh gosh, this is really going to be a bit bad.
Yeah. This is, again, a good example of Cameron sort of putting in a variety of things for different, you get more than one note out of what's being served up.
Yeah, and we think we're on for, well, basically our first, we think we're in for the finale, as you said. We are being set up to think this is a big ending. There is some, I think it's fair to say, unfortunate green screen in this bit, but it's notable for how much it stands out.
Oh, I didn't even notice. So.
Sorry, I mean, it's notable in how much like this is the bit I notice as a bad effect.
Yeah.
Versus everything else is
really
it still looks so gosh darn good.
Oh, you mean when the ship's leaving the planet? Yeah. No, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's a few seconds, could be better. Cool nuke, I'd say. I think it's mainly the lighting on the ship that disappoints, but yeah,
it's tough to do. Tough to do.
Yeah, it's just how good the rest of the effects are. Really, it's like, oh, that was bad. The rest weren't.
Yeah, it feels. I would say this maybe feels a tiny bit cheap in terms of playing with our emotions. It's a little bit into the contrivance zone.
He does have a throwaway line to explain why he wasn't there, which because I was like, oh, they did the movie thing, and then he lands and he's like, oh, I had to circle around because the platform was unstable. I'm like, oh, fair enough. There are explosions going around everywhere.
I can see it. Yeah. It's my annoyance at it being a slight contrivance. Even if it's an effective one in terms of an emotional, like you're at the nadir and then suddenly, oh no, he is here. Well, hey, I forgive it. Also, I forgive for the fact that they have an accurate countdown to the explosion.
Oh, is it actually 16 minutes?
No, the final 10 seconds is like.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's actually 10 seconds. I love it.
Yay.
As I say, Haryan has his bullet autism. I time the countdowns.
Yeah,
everyone has their their weaknesses.
Yes, so it kind of works. It's a big enough thing with a massive explosion. I think we are primed to think, oh yeah, that was legitimate. That was good. But it's not our only payoff, is it? It's not our only finale.
No.
I mean, this for me moves Aliens into the all-time greats, because this moment just works for me so well.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was great because you had the blood drip first melting through, and you're like, "What?" The audience goes, "Oh God!" Then he gets stabbed. It was the perfect amount of time, or at the very least, close to it. And then it obviously gets ripped in half as well. It's just, that is the brutality you need at that point, and they can get away with it because it's milk and not.
Yeah, so satisfying. Just a masterful use from top to bottom of this film of setup and payoff, and understanding what the audience wants and they're interested in, and giving it to them, just a little bit after you've teased them, not by keeping them in suspense, and then it's very satisfying.
Yeah, it's you would have been happy with the original ending, but this is even more. And the effect here for the tail going through Bishop is it looks so good. It's so good. Stan
really
Winston knocking it out the park on this one. And as you say, it's memorable, like him being torn in half and tossed aside. I think it really works in terms of bringing you around. Like, you're already feeling something more for Bishop after he's demonstrated selflessness and willingness to dispose of himself for the crew. And then for him to literally be torn apart and tossed aside, it really, emotionally it lands. I feel bad for the guy as well. This is a character I like at this point. Yeah,
and Ripley too, given that he's actually come and saved her and was an android, and now she's got over her evil bigotry of the synthetic humans.
There's also further payoffs. So as we talked about, setup and payoff, you're the top two seasonings in any movie. So if you remember when we first meet Newt, she's crawling under the grills and being chased under that. Foreshadowing. It's foreshadowing.
First reaction, go under.
Yeah, and then this lovely bit here when the Queen has torn the grills off, and then the Queen's fingers are acting almost like grills. It's that foreshadowing. Oh, okay, I'm feeling the tingle of accusations of reaching. That's what I saw in this shot. It's symbolically, it's the grills, but fingers, etc. All right.
Hey, I'm not going to argue against that.
Okay, that's cool. But yeah, it's this lovely repeat here of you've seen she can get around under the grills, and now she has to use it again. She is so vulnerable in this moment. This maybe feels closer to the kind of archetypal fear of you as a small child trying to avoid being scooped up by the monster. Like, that's a lot more relatable, I thought. And then the biggest payoff of the whole gosh darn movie. What's coming, guys?
Get away from her, you bitch! Yes, the best line of the film.
Yes.
In very iconic. I'm pretty sure these things have been used again, referenced again and again in all sorts of shows. They were definitely in Archer. They're in Conker's Bad Fur Day. Anyone remembers that Nintendo 64 game?
Yes, Scoop Dog, you have to watch this. It is excellent stuff. If you haven't already, I'm sure you said you watch it again and again and again. You've got to. You know something really weird about this, though?
Go on.
Scream 2. There is the class where they are discussing sequels. And our boy, our top performer in the class, our horror movie expert, Randy Meeks, taken from us far too early. Someone references this bit and says the line, get away from her, you bad word. Oh, you said it already. Get away from her, you bitch. And then Randy corrects the guy with the incorrect line and switches it to stay away. And I had to go and check this. Why did they deliberately write it so Randy was incorrect?
Because otherwise he would have been a Gary Stu, getting everything right, being the perfect student. He has to get something wrong, you know.
He
I don't know.
did get something wrong. Son of the Mask. There's a joke for everyone who likes their terrible sequels. Yeah, this absolute iconic payoff. I think I don't know what to say about it. It feels like pure glorious popcorn for me. It's just a fantastic payoff that it's very, I don't want to say over the top. It's like it's exactly at the peak where it needs to be. It has not gone, it's on the top. It's not quite over yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're at the point where the aliens, the alien queens managed to get on board, and now, okay, what's the only thing Ripley can do? Well, she knows how to use these things. These things are for lifting heavy loads. Well, all right, even the odds best she can. And as you say, it's a great thing to end on, because if you didn't have this scene in and the alien was left, the alien queen was left in the nuclear explosion, I think it'd still have a real I think it'd still be as influential as it always was. But why not add this bit in as well, especially since it's been set up? And all right, you can just take the setup out, but this definitely adds to the film only in positive ways. So
what I can't figure out is how is this so difficult for scriptwriters to do? Like, it's so effective. All you have to do is put the setup here and the payoff over there. You just put them at either ends of the film. It seems so rare for films to do this well, but maybe there's more skill. Maybe there's more skill in setting it up properly than I realize.
Yeah.
It can be. I mean, you get very blatant stuff. So, like James Bond, I feel is the most obvious one.
Yes.
You know,
Here's your
hello, Bond. Now you'll need this in scene 32, and this will come in handy at the end of Act 2.
Yeah. It's.
But nobody complains about that in James Bond, do they? Everyone loves, even though you've seen it a million times, you love seeing the gadgets get given to him, and you love seeing the gadgets getting used. It doesn't matter if we know if we see it coming. It still works. It's still satisfying.
It is. I feel this is just done a lot more artfully, just because things are in, and you aren't you don't have Q telling you this. It's just
I do, yeah.
It's set at the world, and logically you can make the inferences, and that's why it's just so good. Another really good one is Cabin in the Woods. That has the best setup and payoff, I think. But we aren't going to get to that for a while. We still have a few more films to smuggle in.
Well, I can't wait.
I think almost everybody in the audience, when they saw her doing the loading at the beginning of the film, at some level would have registered, we're being told this for some reason, this will come back. But there's so much else that happens that, again, almost everybody's forgotten.
I think all you take from it at the start is people don't take Ripley seriously. These are hardcore Marines. She's proved her worth. I like her. She's competent. Of course she can do that. It's like, oh yeah, you see why they respect her. But the later payoff is smuggled in there. Just, I don't know, that you would think it's easy to do, but
when anything masterful, anybody really skilled at their craft makes it look easy, don't they? So
yeah, I suppose he had a fair old while to work on this script, so it wasn't one of those rushed out ones. Maybe this is the result of much refinement.
Certainly feels that way.
Yeah, the fight's pretty iconic. I'm going to be honest with you, though. I love this moment. I do have problems with the repeat of sucking the queen out into the vacuum of space.
That was fine.
Hey, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
I struggle with believing that she can climb out. I'm not convinced of that. It does me a little bug. I feel somewhat my disbelief does not suspend all that much, and it bugs me a tiny bit, even if everyone sells the material really well. This
is the second time that you've found a little thing that bugs you. It's almost like you were on a bug hunt when you were watching this movie.
Oh dear.
something I absolutely love, like in these little details, is that on the Marines plane, as well as like them referencing bug hunts, they have got this little symbol of it's like a US eagle grabbing a world, and the motto written on it is "We endanger species." I love that so much. I love it so much. Yes, the fight is good. The Queen is dispatched. You know, it's a heckin' struggle. Everyone is pushed to their limits. And Ripley earns her rest, achieving her goal. And they get to...
For her, yeah.
Again, it's like poetry. It rhymes, echoing the end of Alien there.
I hope she enjoys the next 57 years of sleep again.
Haryan, was it you who said it's sort of difficult watching this and knowing that the next film kind of... Well, maybe we shouldn't talk about that. I'll tell you another thing that bugs me, though, in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all the effort in Alien over the lovely cat Jonesy, who I made sure to show in a screen cap. And then she leaves him behind sensibly. And it's like, okay, bye, Jonesy. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, she never sees him again. That bugs me. They did Jonesy dirty.
She'll see him in 57 years. It's fine. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, 57 years on average.
Yeah.
Oh dear, never mind. But that's not really anything we can blame on this film. How do we feel at the end of this with Ripley sleeping peacefully next to Newt?
I enjoy it.
The daughter that she, the replacement daughter. Yeah.
People have highlighted that it's kind of nice. Like, she's a mother, daughter. Hicks is there as like... basically the father. Like, he was kept out of the real finale because, it was busy enough, frankly. It's kind of nice she's settled in this sort of family format. She's at peace, as you see.
Aww. Good ending to a great film.
It just hacks your brain to have a good time. Like how you can, when you're cooking, put some sugar and some salt in there, make sure there's fat. Everyone's going to be happy. You've got character development, stakes, setup and payoff. The bad guy gets defeated, and everybody leaves the cinema feeling that they got their money's worth. So, this is just very competent. Competent sounds like a diss. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. I mean, competent in a fully positive way, right?
But it's like, remarkable how these low bars are missed over and over again.
It's crazy. It's actually crazy in modern cinema.
It's baffling when you think how much money gets put in a film, that the script is so often the thing that lets the whole project down. But I suppose this is partly the lesson of you can't get good results with committees.
And this is very much a singular vision,
Yes, you need that iron fist of a director, the monarch of the project, who will ensure that the outcome is as good as it can possibly be.
Oh, absolutely. And there's clearly a bit of a passion in this as well. You've got to see, versus the sort of trotted out in 1 year to meet a production deadline. versus this thing which was in development for 7 years to make it work.
Cameron seems to have the reputation a bit like Steve Jobs of being absolute nightmare to be, involved with professionally, but also seems to produce the results that that are clearly the target of other directors, and they can't achieve it. So maybe there's some link there between the kind of maniacal personality and the actual ability to get things done to a high quality.
I think so. For his exacting, punishing reputation, I do see a man who makes sure that every single film he does has characters you care about and with an emotional drive that is a lot deeper. Like an obvious comparison point is Terminator 2. Now that he's doing a sequel to his own movie, but he wants it again, puts in spectacular, amazing, innovative action, but you also care. And you also have a female character in Sarah Connor who's developed, who's authentically female, and not ashamed of it. Like the way she's almost resentful of the fact that she wishes she could just be a mother, but she has to do this stuff. And she is so much more complex because of that.
And the new film acts like, oh, she was just a womb in those films. It's like, Sarah Connor? Really? Terminator's a dead franchise.
It is. It's kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, try as you might, but you cannot continue that. It doesn't work, and they just keep rebooting it. Oh dear.
So I think about
there is a plausibility issue with doing sequels to films like this, because the first film, you could argue, was told as it was kind of the memories of the surviving character, and there's a sort of there's a logic to the fact that it's unlikely that the main character survives, but then perhaps they are the one telling you the story because they were the one person who survived. But then when the same character then goes through the experience again, you start to think, well, this character has actually got something magical about them in their ability to survive unlikely events. Do you know what I mean? If you had 1 million people and 20 of them survive some terrible catastrophe, all those 20 people are going to have really crazy sounding stories, very improbable things. But it's just the factor that they've been selected for that means that you can believe that the stories happened. But then if those same people then lived through another crazy catastrophe and survived, you start to think there's something else going on.
I can go with that. I like the sort of was it the anthropic principle there, basically?
Yes.
Yes, it's a good way of viewing it, as you say. Or people talk about contrivance in stories, and it's sort of, what's a chance of this? It's like, well, okay, this is a combination of 2 or 3 really unlikely things happening as inciting events. But if they didn't, then this would be Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, we're fine to have inciting contrivances at the start if they kick the story off, but don't just...
Yeah, I mean, the stories we tell are the lives of the people who had the crazy dice rolls. It's just when the dice rolls become too crazy, and then it becomes a contrivance, I think. So I think we do have some intuitive sense of where plausibility lies, and we're watching a film because we want to live in a world where we are luckier in our fantasies than we are in reality, but not too much luckier.
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, Mauler goes through this exact topic in his latest part of The Force Awakens.
Does he? I've got it queued up to watch.
Oh, yeah, it's about
halfway through it. Just talks about how contrivances should be used in stories, and I think he uses Fargo as the example. It's like, this story's kicked off because 2 people happen to meet in the hospital, which is quite lucky. But then the rest of it doesn't rely on contrivances that much. And yeah, as we say, use it at the beginning, don't keep using, double
Yeah.
sixes is the way forward. So.
Yes.
Yes, I would also suggest Big Trouble in Little China is a grand example, although a far less coherent film, but none the worse for it. So we're at the end. I would love to get some closing thoughts and scores from you out of 12 burgers. Chat, love seeing your scores as well. I'm going to be surprised if there is anything below an 8, but we'll see. We'll see. And Luke, would you like to go first?
Yeah, now I'm
thoughts?
wondering what... Do you remember what I scored for Alien?
Oh, goodness. I should have checked.
I should have checked.
because I started the stream saying that I thought Alien was better than Aliens, but only slightly. But I suppose, to be fair, I should now come up with a score, not remembering what my score for Alien was, and see if that's actually true.
Were you subconsciously lured in by James Cameron's populist popcorn bait?
Exactly. So it's out of 12, is it?
Out of 12.
I think I might give it 9.5.
Very respectable.
Oh, and okay. Apart from just a boring numeric score, I'll give an actual thought. This is the kind of film that completely understands what it's doing. You don't leave the cinema, as I often do, thinking, well, if I was the director, I would have done this differently and that differently. I think it doesn't achieve the depth of philosophical insight and flair that I would like to see in a film. But it's also, but I don't think that's what it's about. So it would be unfair to judge it on that basis. It is, I think it's beautiful, escapist action, and it's wonderful that the sequel chose to go in a different direction. But based on that principle alone, I fully commend and encourage directors to learn from what James Cameron did here.
I think that works. I mean, for our closing thoughts, I find it tricky because we have given our thoughts consistently throughout the film, but it does a good job. As you say, it's a good model, and I think competent is not an insult to apply to this movie.
I have a feeling I maybe gave the last one 8. I'm vaguely remembering that, and since I've now given this a 9.5, then that's very inconsistent.
It's a crowd pleaser. You've been suckered in.
I'm in a better mood or something this week.
I was trying to find out what you scored the last one, but listening to that stream and this stream at the same time, I get very confused of which one.
I can imagine.
So
no worries.
I'll give up on that.
Haryan, would you like to give your score?
Yes. And final thoughts.
Thoughts and score, please.
Yeah, this film, pretty much every beat in it is set up and paid off. And as I even go as far as to say there's very little contrivance. I don't want to say if any. I could believe that Ripley would go back to wipe out the aliens. I know, the main one is, would she be able to hold on at the end? Yeah, probably not. People in chat were saying, could she breathe? You can breathe in hurricanes. I think she'd be all right, but I might have to check up on my physics. Either way, suspension of disbelief was fine. When I was told through what's it called, Jonathan Ferguson, who does the Loadout series for GameSpot, which, by the way, please watch the Pulse Rifle episode if you're interested in the guns in this universe. I forgot why I brought him up.
Just random recommendation there.
Yeah, just a random recommendation. I brought him up for a reason, but I can't remember at this point. But yeah, thought seemed to go into everything. The sets, the even the characters, even if they were small parts who were just there for cannon fodder, like every bit of dialogue from the Marines, as I say, I think made me laugh, and they just had such great lines. Like, you know, when they're asked about the secretion on the wall, it's like, "What's that?" It says, "Don't ask me, man. I just work here." Lines like that all the way through. It just adds to it. It makes you really like these Marines, which then adds tension to the action scenes where obviously they're being picked off one by one. And you're like, "Oh no, I like that guy." And you know, as you specifically mentioned, the sergeant goes, funny guy goes, you know. And I mean, there's another bit we didn't talk about where they're on the planet like surface and they ask for the rescue from the ship. I'm not sure how an alien gets on, but I'm guessing it just sneaks on while they're landed at the colony, because they're obviously at the colony as well. But again, that was effective horror as well, because she thinks Spunk, whatever he's called, coming on.
Spunkmeyer?
Spunkmeyer, yeah. Spunkmeyer's coming on, but it's the alien. It's like, oh god, that's another thing going wrong.
We get that
great.
beautiful shot afterwards. Just, oof.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you pretty much at every point. It gives you enough of either, oh, they're going to be saved. Oh wait, no, they're not. Or oh my god, they're all doomed. Oh wait, no, they're not. It's the right amount every time. Dialogue's great. I can only talk positives about the guns, obviously, and the sets and things like that. Just everything in the film's great. There's very little to actually properly criticize, and I think I'd have to be quite harsh to criticize it. So for that reason, this is actually an 11 out of 12 with cheese. With all those
wow!
Yeah, this is a great film. It really is. I think it does deserve to go that high. Because I like you. And every time you go through them with the plan, that you then see how they're implementing said plan, like in the colony, where they're like, oh, we have to, you know, board up these doors, we have to lock this door, and then you just watch them do it as well, and then, oh, why is that not done? Oh, they didn't think about the ceiling grates and things like that because they're in a panic. They think they only have about, you know, a few hours to get out. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Nice. Well, I didn't get a full prediction done, but I had you down for a 10, so I'm really happy with that.
Yep.
11 out of 12 burgers, I think, very justified. Personally, I would echo all of that. I think we've again got amazing. I think I'll just focus on, like, this is iconic. This sets the mold for so many other films because it is just doing everything right. Likeable characters, switching the tone up quite nicely. You're brought in with a very patient setup, lots of emotion, a quick fake out, and then you're into some light-hearted banter with the Marines who you end up liking. You know, day in the cause, like a day on the farm. I love everything in that. It's just, you're being served a full palette of tone here. And then they just build in things that become such iconic shots. If I'm pointing out a contrivance, I think the alien sneaking onto the plane is a bit handy, but I can let it go. So this is deservedly iconic. This is a wonderful way to develop a world and develop a main character. And, you know, as you say, the sort of vision of James Cameron is what stopped this being a work by committee. Even if he did threaten everyone's tea breaks. This is a deserved... it's not super deep, but gosh darn it, it does it well. I think I go for a 10. I did not end up super scared all the way through, but it was not aiming to. It's not deep, but it is effective. So really good stuff. 10 out of 12 burgers. A very satisfying amount of ketchup. Yeah. Well, that is lovely. That is us covering aliens. I'm glad we did not do a topic tonight because I knew we would have so much to say about this film. We have just slightly cheesed Super Nanny off. Just she's going to be a tad hurt, but I think she'll get over it. But I might not risk another BBFC history for a while. We will return next week, and because it's a time of the stream, guys, since you're here, I'm gonna tell you the horror homework. We were delayed due to illness, but I was encouraged. We will stick with the schedule, and we'll have a slightly weird April, and probably miss we'll probably miss the audience choice, just so I can get that essential 80s sci-fi horror in for you guys. We're going to do The Fly next week. David Cronenberg's The Fly. Are we madly fangirling Cronenberg? Yes, we are, relentlessly, and we're not going to stop.
He's all right.
So watch The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, and if you want a bonus, watch the Vincent Price original. I will be referencing it. That's your horror homework. I will now turn to thanking my guests. Absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you for having us.
Wait, who'd you say?
Both of
Did
you.
say?
And
Oh, both, right. Thank you.
oh, both of you. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
fantastic.
Sorry, I thought I just missed a name. But no,
No,
thank you for having me
grand.
on.
No, really good stuff. And you bring the gun knowledge that I cannot get near. Lambda, thank you for watching a film that is, I feel, somewhat far outside of your wheelhouse.
I don't know about that. I mean, probably my favourite films of all time are the original Star Wars trilogy, and if you've got people running around in space shooting each other, then you know,
Excellent taste.
Nice. Well, it is going to be another arc in between. We go back to 90s sci-fi horror. I will approach you near the time if you're available and willing. Alien 3 was made in 1992, I think.
Oh, really?
I'm becoming the alien expert.
I've
maybe
hit
more
kind
like
of
the
the
alien
vibe.
guinea pig.
I did just end up, getting a bit of a vibe, and I just after that first one, I just thought it would be fun if you did the series. So if you're available and willing, I will ask. It was 1992, a much more troubled production.
Okay.
But Lambda, is there anything that you would like to shill? Yes, I'll do a renewed shill at the end for that. Thank you for reminding me.
Well, I suppose there's two YouTube channels that I want to point people to subscribe to at the moment. One is, of course, Lambda Bible Studies, but I'm running my... You know how Millennial Woes does Millennial? Well, I thought for Easter I would do Lambster, but because I'm therefore interviewing a whole bunch of people, and I'm not quite sure how spicy they're going to be, I'm not going to risk my precious Bible study channel. So I'm going to be running that on a channel that's just called Lambda. So if you search into Google, into YouTube or Odyssey, Lambda, that's where I'm going to be running a bunch of interviews with lots of exciting people in the week running up to Easter.
I did have trouble finding that other channel, so abundantly
right.
there are many Lambdas. So
really, well, it's the one with my face as the.
Well, there are so many people Lambda. Even though I'm subscribed to Lambda Bible Studies, it came up. So make sure people can find that, and I'm really looking forward to it. You've got some fantastic.
Well, let's push people then today to go to Odyssey, because I suspect it's easier to find there. And anyway, we should be. I'm probably stand more chance of that channel surviving on Odyssey. So.
There you go,
if
folks.
you have an
On
Odyssey
Odyssey,
account, then it's called Lambda.
On Odyssey, follow Lambda. That's brilliant. So when did you say that's kicking off?
Well, it's the few days running up to Easter, which is the 17th of April. So it's just a matter of a few weeks.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. And Haryan, anything you'd like to chill, sir?
Yeah, apparently the last Laughing at the Guardian episode from Saturday, that was apparently too spicy for YouTube for about 3 hours till I appealed it. Apparently I talked too much about election fortification, so but I was on that with Cringe Walker, which I think quite a few people in this audience will know, and a lesser known guy called Stedman. So we just went through Guardian articles because they were all mental. In terms of videos, didn't manage to make one today. I probably will make one tomorrow, but I just don't know what the topic will be. after listening to the last EFAP, there might be a new video on Fight Club that might need reacting to, but I'm desperately trying to find that video and seeing if it's worth it. If not, it's whatever's annoyed me in the news. And regional variations on Tail Features channel tomorrow at 10 p.m.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. All right, brilliant. As for me, I shouldn't overpromise. I've been ill and I did not manage to edit the decidedly filthy and disturbing video on Clive Barker. It is nearly done. I don't want to overpromise, though, but it will be coming out soon. So just stick around and we will have a new stream for you on Tuesday. And I believe there is talk of a rogue stream on the Thursday. So we'll see if we can sort that. But let's just focus on what we know. Tuesday is The Fly by David Cronenberg. Get your rewatch in or your watch, whether you've seen it already. And I was also reminded that I should be shilling my subscribe star. My subscribe star is in the description for this. If you feel like supporting me without sending any money into Susan's pockets, into her grasping claws, then you can support me on Subscribestar. I'm setting up memberships as well, though, because I am fickle. And I want to fund the more ambitious projects that are going to require set building and additional lens and props. But I will tell you all about that in weeks to come. And I'm also making some exclusive content for that. So you get a little something else for supporting me, as well as helping me make that project happen. But we have somewhat enraged Super Nanny, I'm sure. There'll probably be a rumbling somewhere, and I no doubt have a space for me on the naughty step beckoning. So I'm going to leave it off here. I'll reiterate thanks to my fantastic guests, Haryan and Lambda. And
thank you very much.
You guys are stars. Thank you so much. And chat, you've been fantastic tonight. You've been lively. I love the Jane Austen horror movies. I love it. That was great. Thank you. Tickled me. But I will leave it here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on the rewatch,
I was going to try and come up with an Austen. How about slice and slaughtability? There you go.
Oh dear. Northangham Abbey.
Nice.
I don't know. We'll think about it. All right, I'm going to leave off here, guys. You're stars. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
#rock gang.